What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Welcome to episode 10 of the show. I'm joined by my usual co-host, SW. And if you couldn't tell, we are joined by a very special guest today. Spexo, Respexo, Extreme Papist, whatever you want to call him. He's a man of many names.
It's me.
Um, Dude, thanks for joining us, man. It's been a long time coming, and we're happy to have you on the show. How are you doing, man?
Living the dream, surviving the nightmare. How you doing? How's being a dad?
It's good, man. Sleep schedule still adjusting a little bit, but for
Mhm.
the most part, she's chill, man.
How, how did you feel about
Nice.
Israel and the Palestine conflict?
How did I feel about
No,
Israel?
no, no. How does your daughter
Oh, how
feel?
does she feel?
Yeah.
Well, she's listening to Nick with me on a
All
regular
right.
basis,
That's
while I put her to sleep. As long as Nick doesn't get started at 3:30, then
good.
she's listening to the show with me. So
Awesome.
she has the correct opinion.
Good.
Um, but yeah, man, everything good with you, dude? It's been a long time. It's been about 4 years
Since we
uh
optically dissented.
since we've been on camera together, man.
That's crazy. Yeah. We had a groundbreaking show 4 years ago called Optical Descent. That was cool. And then we stopped doing that for a while. I'm good. I have like a lot of kids and family nonsense going on, so it's hard for me to consistently make content. So
Sure.
now I just go on Twitter a lot, and that's basically the only form of social media I really do now. So it's cool to be back doing a little bit of catch up on this type of content and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. I see your Twitter account blowing up, man. You're regularly getting hundreds of thousands of views on your tweets. So
Yeah, that was
very
great. Did you see? I made a tweet about Dave Portnoy being short, and it got
yes,
like 7
yes.
million views and like 120,000 likes. This is
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah, dude.
It's awesome.
That's how I felt with my Trent Horn tweet.
Hmm.
The one where his wife was berating him, and actually you blew up too with the Trent Horn stuff
Oh
also.
yeah,
So
that he's the worst. I'm so disappointed in him.
it's really disappointing, man. I know we're both Catholic, but I know SW. I don't know if you're Catholic, but I know you're a
Oh yeah, I
Christian.
am.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We don't really talk about religion too much. Actually, we more cover.
No, I
Um,
went all the way, confirmation. I got it all.
Nice, man. I actually didn't know that
Based.
about you. That's awesome, man. So yeah, it's disappointing to see Trent Horn kind of just simp out and crash out like that. But yeah, I mean, it's in his genes to
It
kind of simp
is.
like that. It's quite literally in his genes.
It's ethnic predispositions, because I'm not questioning his authenticity about his faith and stuff. I'm sure that he truly believes in the dogma of the Catholic Church and what he professes to believe in. But unfortunately, I think he has a bias that's based on his upbringing and obviously his ethnicity, where he can't put his beliefs over his ethnic biases, like
Yeah,
he and he does this thing too where he will try to manipulate church teachings or take things out of context or only accept certain teachings to justify his position. He does this not even just with the Jewish stuff. He does this with feminism. I just watched his debate with Timothy Gordon, and Timothy Gordon basically just completely destroyed him. But he
Timothy's
was,
awesome.
yeah,
Love Tim Gordon.
he was just trying to justify why it's okay to like be a feminist essentially or whatever. And he was like, oh well, I could see why the third wave feminism is bad and all this stuff. And Timothy Gordon was like, no, all of feminism is going against God's natural order. So it was awesome. But I got to give Trent. I got to give him a lot of credit because he helped me convert definitely, like he was one of the main apologists I watched. Him, Jimmy Akin, Taylor Marshall, all like the normie tier type like Catholic conservatives. So I think they definitely have like a good role to play in like converting people and helping people come to the faith, but I think they need to stay in their lane and maybe avoid politics and stop trying to like overstep where their knowledge ends, because they're not political people and their theology like seems to end and contradict when it affects their, personal beliefs.
Absolutely, man.
Interesting.
Um, Go for it, SW.
I'm always just curious. So you mentioned you were a convert. Were you a different religion before, or how did you kind of gravitate towards Catholicism?
My whole family is like Irish Catholic,
Oh, I thought you
like
said something about convert earlier.
No, I was. Yeah, I am a convert, but I'm saying my whole family was Irish Catholic. My parents were not very religious, but my grandparents were super religious. I was baptized Catholic, but then I ended up going to a Lutheran school. I didn't grow up religious at all, or with like any sense of like really belief in God, just kind of an abstract belief. And by the time I hit high school and I got into like Reddit and stuff, I got really into like our atheism and became like a militant atheist. And like it kind of put a wedge in between me and my family and stuff. They all kind of like tried to distance themselves from me because I was constantly posting stuff on Facebook that was just super cringe and our atheism tier, like people would say like, "Oh, please pray for my grandma, she's sick" or whatever, and I'd be like, "How about you donate to cancer charities or something instead of praying to your sky daddy and stuff?" And really just like bottom of the barrel gay atheism stuff. And then through like a series of events, through getting more like political and losing people close to me and talking to different people, I started to like come to the idea that like atheism was more of just a political facade where they're really just using the lack of belief of God as a way to push basically progressive agendas and stuff like that. And then of course when I started like getting red pilled on Jews and like history and stuff like that, I started realizing that like well, one big thing was that like with white identity and stuff was that like the in the Middle Ages, Europe wasn't united and connected because they were all white or something like that. The reason that they were able to push out the Muslims and stuff like that was because they were united under the Catholic Church. So I started having
Yep.
respect for the Catholic Church and all this stuff. And eventually, like I got to a point in my life where I was like, okay, well, maybe I became like an agnostic, and I was like, okay, well, maybe if there is some type of God, there has to be a correct way to worship this God. Like, I don't believe that he just made us and just decided to bounce and like whatever. So I
And you
started
didn't you
looking.
you didn't fall for like universalism, like, hey man, he's just kind of this abstract being.
Mhm.
There's clearly like a correct way to worship him and a correct there's a correct form of him. So
Right.
yeah,
Like,
sorry.
because it just, that was just like logically that made sense to me. Like, I know, and that's the same thing with Protestantism too. So when I started believing in God, I was like, all right, obviously, if there's a God, he didn't just make us for no reason and just like left us and doesn't intervene or anything like that. It doesn't make any sense. And then I was like, okay, well, let me look into because I was always looking at the arguments against God. I started looking into the arguments for God, and that kind of convinced me more. And then I was like, okay, what religion makes the most sense, blah, blah. And Protestantism like didn't appeal to me at all because when I started looking into Christianity and I was looking at just like the surface tier level, like nominally Christian arguments and stuff like that, like William Lane Gregg and all these people and stuff, which don't get me wrong, they're great for proving the existence of God. But I was like, how are you going to talk about the Bible and talk about all this stuff when you can't tell me like an authentic interpretation? Because I'm listening to one guy and he's saying this means something, and then I'm listening to another guy and he's saying that same verse means something completely different. And then I was noticing, I was like, okay, well, some of these Christian denominations are pushing like basically white identitarianism, like to the Black Israelite level, like you have the Christian identity movement and stuff like that, and then you have others that are promoting like transsexual women priests and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, like you guys have the same Bible, so something's going on where there needs to be like an authoritative
When the,
interpreter. And that's when
Yeah.
I started getting into like Catholicism versus Orthodoxy and stuff because I realized that the Bible doesn't interpret itself. If it did, there wouldn't be a bunch of different heretical denominations and stuff. And that was basically my way off of like because I was just like culturally Christian or whatever, like
Yeah.
non-denominational. And then I started looking into Orthodoxy and Catholicism.
yeah,
That's
man.
pretty cool. No, I'm always curious because I had the classic case of, I get raised in it, and then as a teen you have the classic getting bored of it, questioning it, and then I didn't really start coming back to it until kind of closer to 30.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess if we're trading conversion stories here, what really I don't know that it was what necessarily like made me revert to the faith. But
I was
for
going to
me,
ask, where did you grow up Catholic or
yeah, so
okay.
I'm a cradle Catholic, and I really practiced the faith with my family up until about the age of 13 or 14. Um, my mom is Catholic, but like you're saying, so more culturally so. And around 14 or 15, stopped going to mass. Just kind of accepted God's existence as something I believe but didn't really practice, or it didn't reflect itself in my daily life.
So
Um,
did you go back to do to do like confirmation later in life?
no, so I was confirmed. I went to Catholic school, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Oh, okay.
So I was confirmed in 8th grade and got all the sacraments, but it never really hit home for me. And like you're saying, that's why it resonates with me is I didn't really rejoin the faith until I was about 28 or 29. And I read St. Augustine's Confessions last year for the first time. And in that book, he says that at the age of 29 was when he really started to take account of his life, his moral failings. I think that's around the age that his mom, St. Monica, died. And that's around the age that he really came into his own as the one of the church fathers. So yeah, I saw a lot of parallels with my life in Augustine,
How old
and
are you?
I'm 31. I
Oh,
think
okay.
you're only younger than me by like four
No,
or 5 months.
I'm 32. I'm a year older than you.
Oh,
Well,
what?
I'm the
Yeah.
oldest
That's
here.
how old are you?
What?
33.
Oh, gross. That's horrible. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
Sorry to hear
dude,
that.
we're about to be you, man. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
Um, dude, I thought we talked in Detroit. I thought you said you were anyway. I guess I messed that up, but
that's
um,
depressing. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man. Well, we're all early 30s
it's horrible.
millennials, man. When I look at the demographics of
Oh,
who's viewing this channel, it's mostly millennials, which
really?
you know
Oh, we
what?
gotta save them.
Kind of yeah, exactly. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, okay, the Zoomers have Nick, and maybe millennials need like some
We're filling in
young
the gap.
we're filling in a gap, I feel
Yeah,
like.
I think they should just be killed, honestly, most of them. But
Once you hit
again, if you want to try a different way, that's fine too.
once you hit 33,
Yeah.
just death
I think
penalty.
I think but honestly I think that they're like millennials, people my age are just the worst. Like I mean they're not as bad as Gen Xers, I don't think, but millennials are definitely like the second worst generation that's like currently around right now. They're just so obnoxious and just vulgar and like they're but I think that there's this I guess you would call them zillennials or whatever, like the people that are on the cusp of like Gen X and millennials that are like totally different than like the younger millennials, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because I've always identified more with Zoomers, and that may be because I spend a lot of a disproportionate amount of time online. I
mhm,
think all three of us do. But I've always identified, I mean, I was born in 93, which is kind
yeah,
of on that Gen Z millennial cusp. So I
hmm
never really identified with the vulgar wave millennials. I more identified with Gen Z, and I attribute a lot of that to Nick, to be honest with you.
yeah. I have I like it's kind of like the Jewish thing. Like I have a lot of like millennial ethnic predispositions, you know, like I
Yeah.
like I like a lot of like South Park and stuff
Or
is
like
still
you
like a guilty pleasure, but
grew
like
up on Family Guy a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like all that type of stuff or whatever. But like I also feel like because I'm not as old as like these other like 35 to 40-year olds and stuff like that, like I'm able to see like my downfall, you know, like how boomers have no like self-awareness or like understanding that they just don't get it or whatever. I could like see like Zoomer humor that just seems like bizarre or whatever to me and I could understand like, oh, okay, it's just not for me. I'm just like too old for
Exactly.
this, you know? Whereas Gen X are the worst generation in the history of all generations that ever existed who just will not cannot understand that there's things that they can't understand. Their sense of humor is just one
They're
tier.
actually worse than boomers in the sense
That
of
100%. Oh,
superiority
100%.
and of like they think everything from the 90s is the greatest thing ever,
Yeah,
and
that
they're actually like more rude about it than boomers ever were.
100%. They're obnoxious and like like they're super pompous and they think that their way is like the only way or whatever. And they're this have this South Park mentality of nihilism and nothing is real and like sincerity is just out the window and stuff. Whereas boomers, even though like they basically destroyed the economy and the housing market and all that
There
stuff,
is sincerity
yeah,
there.
there's sincerity, but there's also like an endearing quality where like they just don't know any better, and it's like you know like they're like cute a little bit, you know, like you kind of feel like oh you know like oh he's just a boomer, you know, where they're not trying to do it in like a vicious or malicious way, you know, where Gen X is just like Gen X genocide now, you know.
Yeah, SW, you've red pilled me a little bit. So on this on our channel on our show, we spend a lot of time talking about like we were talking about like race and gender, parenting dynamics and stuff. And SW's kind of red pilled me a little bit on Gen X really being the worst generation of parents, actually.
100%.
If you want to go in on that, SW, you're welcome to, but you kind of woke me up on that thing, Gen
Well,
X
it's just
being like
something I've kind
uniquely
of picked up
horrible.
on because it's one of the great things about Twitter is you talk to people of different ages. So obviously, you know, in your 20s, you're not talking to people who are younger than you. You're kind of still in that group. So when I talk to these people who are like 10 years or kind of born late 90s, 2000, they'll tell me all this stuff like, oh, people don't get driver's license anymore. People, oh, they'll talk about like Life 365. And I was like, what the hell's that? And it's like, oh, just an app for my parents to monitor my every movement.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we were going in last week on the whole Laura Ingraham, Tommy Lahren discussion, and Tommy Lahren spends, 2 minutes ragging on the feminization of young men today. And SW and I were like, well, wait, who raised them? Who feminized them? Because couched in your statement is an admission that the feminization of young men is a bad thing. But who did that? It was inherently Gen X, or Gen Z, sorry, Gen X who raised Gen Z, and they feminized them. They, eliminated outdoor play. They have the Life 365 app. They're saying, stay home and be safe. And it's like, I'm not saying you need to go out there and live in a more. I'm not saying you need to
Well, there's
live
also
St.
like
Augustine's life, but
there's like implicit ways, like even if they're not actively saying no, you can't go out and hang out with friends, you create a culture where the the youth don't want to do stuff.
mhm,
And it's just like there's like I said, it's more implicit where they don't want to do stuff and then it festers and then things that we find weird just become the norm with them.
mhm.
And then like the joke I always say is millennials are all stuck thinking they're 23-year-olds and zoomers are all stuck thinking they're 12-year-olds.
Right,
Right.
right. And
But
yeah,
but Tommy Lahren or whatever her name is, like, who is she to have any type of opinion whatsoever? First of all, she's a woman and shouldn't be in public at all. Second of all, she's 32 years old and she's talking about how there's no good men out there or whatever.
With
Like,
two
unmarried,
failed engagements.
right. Like
unmarried, childless, two failed engagements.
yeah, like nobody should be taking her seriously in any capacity whatsoever. And the whole feminization of men, while there obviously is a problem with simping and stuff like that, and I lean more towards the conspiratorial side that it's like legitimately done on purpose by like our government, not even just with the media, but like with the chemicals they put in our food and all that stuff, whatever. But we don't have to go that far. But like there it's just not really true. It's way overblown than people say. There's plenty most men are still like men that like what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like it's not like oh every all of a sudden all guys are just like super feminine and stuff like that. It's like no, girls are whores. Girls don't want to have any type of
completely agree.
responsibility. Like I understand that girls have like less agency than men and stuff like that, but it's gotten to a point where every single type of whore behavior or degeneracy is just oh it's
It's
men's fault.
it's
No, it's
porn.
no.
It's the
Yeah.
porn, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the porn is like a perfect encapsulation of it because I'm for banning the porn. Like I am for making porn illegal. I am for killing the pornographers, like figuratively speaking. Um, in Minecraft, killing the pornographers. But yeah, I am for jailing them
Mhm.
underneath the biggest jail. But John Miller had a really good point about this. You know, a lot of people want to talk about the feminization of men. Here's the thing, men's nature has not fundamentally changed in 2025. Women's nature has fundamentally changed. Men are fundamentally still the same red-blooded guys who want, and that's why it's ridiculous when women say their guys don't want to get married. They want to play video games. That's not true. The stats don't bear that out. Guys want to have kids. Guys want to get married. It is the women who are addicted to their career, to getting their next degree, going to the next bar, going to the next country, getting drunk on an island and posting girl boss memes. That
Mhm.
is the difference. Men have not fundamentally changed. And I think you're really getting onto something there that it is kind of a cop out to sit there and say, well, the feminization of men. That that is kind of BS, actually. Like
Mhm.
men's nature has not changed. So I agree.
Mhm. Yeah, it's Jews and women's faults, you know. So that's that's basically it. Like if you look at the feminist movement, obviously it was all controlled by Jews, and it's all part of their revolutionary spirit. It's to push people away from the natural order of God. Men and women are obviously different, and men and women have different natures and different capacities and different roles that they're supposed to play in life. And it basically got down to the point where women are trying to play the role of the man, you know, and it happens to a lesser degree in the opposite direction too. And I'm not saying that's not a problem, but it really is the women's problem. The women being in the workforce, the women uh, on birth control, putting off having children and stuff, and taking the role of what the man is supposed to do. And then you wonder why our depression rates are so high and why people aren't, and the birth rates are down and stuff like that. And I personally think it's all by design. This is exactly what they want. But these talking heads that want to try and put blame on everything else except for the actual perpetrators is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it's
Actually, we've talked
go.
about the birth control thing a lot, me and you,
Mhm.
but I don't think we've ever actually talked about it on the show.
Yeah, man, we're get okay, yeah, go for it. What did
Well, no, I was just
yeah,
saying
no,
that's just
you're good.
it's a good point because me and Jordan have talked about that a lot. Where that's the common thread when you look at what's different between men and women nowadays. It's that we basically put an entire generation of girls on a mind-altering pill starting at age 14 for the flimsiest reasons, and then all of a sudden we get to where we are now, and it's like, huh, why are they all completely insane?
hmm It's not even mind altering. It's completely changing their biological
Yup.
nature.
Yeah,
They're
it's
they're
physiological.
yeah.
It's even yeah,
It's
it's mind
destroying their endocrine system. Obviously, that affects the mind, but that's like the reason it's affecting the mind
it
is because it's stopping
literally
their natural process of their reproductive organs. Like it's crazy.
it literally impacts what they find attractive. I know
Yeah.
you've seen the study about women on birth control find more feminine male faces attractive.
hmm
There have been stories of women who get off of birth control and they no longer find their husband attractive. If there is a pill that is being taken like that from the age of 14,
hmm
we have lost the plot, man. Like there's something I don't even know. I mean, women have all these arguments. They because they're just justifying their own degeneracy at that point. But I mean, I don't even know how you could argue that this isn't something completely like nature changing. So,
Yeah, that's why like
um,
the whole a lot of the people in the pro-life movement that only stop at like abortion
right,
are just missing the plot completely because it is obviously abortion is disgusting and horrible and I think that anybody who's ever gotten abortion should be charged with murder as well as the doctors and stuff. But
absolutely.
um, so should people that do IVF and so should people that like promote birth control because it's the same outcome. Maybe you're not murdering the babies completely during birth control, but you're stopping the natural process of gestation,
Yeah,
and it's fundamentally altering the nature of the human anatomy and the purpose for why we have sex, like that's why Catholicism is the answer to everything, to birth control, to degeneracy, to everything, so that's why I'm so like so zealous, even though I know I'm a, I'm,
100%.
I'm a convert. And I was talking about this a couple of days ago on like where cradle Catholics have like this beef with like converts and stuff like that. And I understand why, because like a lot of converts are very like obnoxious and like pompous and stuff like that, but they're also tend to be more zealous and knowledgeable than cradle Catholics, So I think that like
Absolutely.
there needs to be like a middle ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can stay on this line on this topic. This is
Because I
perfect.
was actually going to circle back to I think one of the biggest issues was with the birth control thing, and to circle back to Gen X parents, boomers at least would have some level of tradition. Now, I know that's not true in a lot of different ways, but I feel like Gen X was more like it wasn't even like these girls are asking to be put on birth control. I feel like crazy Gen X moms literally were pushing it
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Gen Z in the sense where they were like they wanted to get their daughters on birth control as soon as possible.
Well,
I
it just
mean,
became,
look,
yeah, go ahead.
no, well, I mean, we're going to look at her in a second, but just look at like Roseanne Barr. I mean, we're all millennials. I don't know if any of you guys watched the show Roseanne when it was popular in the 90s. Um, Roseanne is a Gen Xer and she's Jewish, but she LARPed in the show as like a middle American trailer trash. And I'm not saying that derogatory,
The
like, and
original
it,
Hicklibs.
yeah, yeah, ex so true. Yeah, the original Hicklibs. They're growing up. The show takes place in suburban Illinois, 3 hours outside of Chicago. Roseanne is this Gen X, LARPing as white trash, but she's really Jewish. And there are entire episodes dedicated to birth control, where in the show her daughter doesn't want, like, isn't even thinking about birth control. But Roseanne finds out that she has a boyfriend, and she takes her to the doctor very bravely and says, "Honey, we're going to get you on birth control." And the audience goes,
Yeah,
"Oh,
it's
great." It's like
mhm.
it's like it's the revolutionary phenotype.
Mhm.
And it's yeah, anyway, go Spexo.
Yeah, and it's just become like ubiquitous. Like we have to, oh, they're going to be having sex anyway, so we got to put them on birth control, like as a preventive measure. We got to teach kids about condoms and stuff like that. It's like, how about you teach kids not to have sex until they're married? How about you
Right.
teach them like actual moral values and actually have conversations with them instead of just, chemically altering them or giving them like crazy stuff to prevent the actions that, there's nothing I can do. I don't want to be a parent. I can't do this. I can't watch my kid all the time. They have a boyfriend or whatever. They're going to have sex. And it's like, no, how about you like step in, you take control of the situation, you have a conversation with them, and you make sure that they're living correctly. Obviously, it's not going to work 100% of the time, but that is a more healthy and natural way to deal with those situations than to just chemically alter your kids. And you were saying about Roseanne Barr, which is crazy. She's like another Trent Horn type thing because she was getting in trouble for calling she called some black guy a monkey or girl a monkey or something like that.
Yeah,
Remember? And she
yeah.
got fired. She got fired.
Valerie Jarrett. She said she looks like she's from Planet of the Apes.
Right,
That
which I
was her
mean,
big that was her big cancel culture moment,
right,
which
yeah.
she was correct.
She does
She
look like
literally does.
literally
Like,
looks
I'm
like a monkey. Not
sorry.
not even that just because she's black. She
I'm
literally
sorry.
looks like a
No,
monkey.
literally.
But
Like, no, yeah.
yeah, and but like she was like supposed to be like this edgy, and I remember seeing her on podcasts where she was like jokingly questioning the 6 million figure and stuff like that. And then all this stuff with October 7th happens, and now she's like a radical pro-Jew, whatever, and talking about the Qataris and all this nonsense. And it's like every single time, no matter what. And one more thing, what you were talking about was how they had Roseanne, who's a Jew, playing a Gentile on some show. They did the same thing with Archie Bunker. I don't think the actor who played Archie Bunker was a Jew, but the
Uh-huh.
whole show was produced and written and made by Jews. And Kevin McDonald talks about this in The Culture of Critique,
Yes.
where they
He
were
was
basically,
supposed to be a
yeah,
hated character, and
right.
America loved him. America
Mhm.
ended up falling in love with Archie
Mhm.
Bunker.
That always happens too. Like I had a big tweet about American History X where they tried to make this an anti-racist movie and stuff, but literally the whole plot like goes against what the like writers and directors were trying to prove.
This keeps happening. I mean, the same thing. I'm not trying to do the whole Patrick Bateman LARP thing,
Mhm.
but the same thing happened with American Psycho.
Yeah,
It was
American
written.
Psycho,
It was.
Joker. Yeah.
It was written by some feminist, and it was supposed to be a critique of capitalism
Well,
or
no, it was
something.
written. It was written by a Jew. I think he's a Jew, but he's definitely gay. Bret Easton Ellis, I think his name is. He
Oh,
wrote the
okay.
original. He wrote the original book, and he's a literal raging
Oh,
homosexual.
okay. Okay. I
And it
just meant
was
the screenplay. I didn't even know it was based on a book.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, you didn't know Americans? Oh, you got to read the book.
Uh-uh.
It's actually the book is the way that it's written. It's very like kind of like exhausting to read, but there are a lot of like funny parts. But anyway, so Bret Easton
A
Ellis is
Jew
a
being exhausting to
yeah.
read? No, no, no,
Actually,
no, no,
I
no.
want to I want to look that up if Bret Easton Ellis is a Jew. But anyway, so Bret Easton Ellis is a homosexual. He wrote this book, and it was basically supposed to be a satire on like the upper class yuppies or whatever, and
Hmm.
the what like the self-indulgence and like being so narcissistic that you can't see anything actually happening around you. That's why none of the characters can tell the difference between any of the other characters and stuff like
Right.
that. But obviously Patrick Bateman was not supposed to be like idolized or supposed to be like any type of architect for men. And like everybody is so upset about like that he became like this like incel like role model or whatever on the right wing and stuff. And they're now making a remake apparently, and
Yeah,
I
I heard.
guarantee it's going to be they're going to butcher it. I guarantee
It's
it.
going to be like Ashton Hall, the black guy with the Saratoga water. He's
Uh-huh.
going to be like some black-based athlete or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, we
Uh,
can. Is he
he's
Jewish?
no, he's just spiritually Jewish. He's
Okay,
but he
fair
but he is
enough.
he is homosexual, so he might as well be.
Might as well be exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get into the Trent Horn video I have pulled up. Before we go in on Trent Horn, I wanted to ask you, Spec. So I don't think we ever got. I know when we did our show, I wasn't actually when I think about it, I wasn't even as deep into my faith as I am now. So I'm curious to know, how do you feel? And we're not going to look at his videos because I actually do like him for a lot of things. But how do you feel about Taylor Marshall?
I actually haven't watched him in a very long time. I watched him.
I more just mean in general. I don't mean like any recent content. I just more mean like what do you think about him?
Well, I think that he's genuine and passionate and stuff like that. But I also think that he falls, or when I used to watch him, he started to fall way more into like the scandal porn of the church and stuff like that, and was
That's my
doing
critique
content.
also.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was doing content that was essentially just like stirring up drama in the church, and he had a lot of sedevacantist tier arguments and stuff without really admitting that he was one. He's but like if you go back and watch his older videos, he was when he was just like explaining the faith, and even the
Hmm.
interview that he did with Bryson Gray, where he was just like countering Protestant talking points and stuff like that. He's very knowledgeable and he
Yeah.
knows a lot about theology and has all the right arguments and stuff like that. And obviously, his value system politically and socially are more aligned with us. But as for more recently, I heard that he's been defending Pope Leo the 14th, which is great, and I
Hmm.
heard that he's been doing a lot more. Based things. I don't really know enough about his recent like stuff to really give him a critique, but he definitely helped me when I in my early in my faith, but also he almost made me become a sedevacantist too. So it's like
Right.
a but I think that he's probably more of a net positive. Obviously, I think that you know. Hopefully he's pushing people to be in full communion with Rome and to respect the authority of the Pope, which it looks like he's doing now,
Yeah.
which is the most important thing. But I think obviously he's probably more of a net positive than a negative.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, he was, I think we've talked about this before. He was my
Oh yeah,
sophomore year of high school theology teacher
that's
when he was
crazy. That's
before he
awesome.
got his doctorate from UD. He was a high school theology
Yeah.
teacher, and
Before he was just a dad with a camera.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He was the guy behind the desk
Hmm.
teaching theology. So I've seen
Well,
the
was
whole
he
thing
wasn't he
come.
like an Anglican though? Like he was before he converted. Was
He's
he Catholic when he was teaching you?
Yeah, so he's like a double convert. I think he's gone from Anglicanism to Catholicism like twice, I want to say.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah, that was when he was Catholic. He was teaching at a small Catholic academy in Dallas that I went to. So yeah, I think you're right. He's a net positive. I wonder about the approach sometimes because I think you're right. He falls into the scandal porn. Um, and a lot of that. I just wonder how effective that is
hmm.
sometimes. But anyway, let's get damn, we just killed like some serious time there just riffing. That's awesome. Share my screen. Bing bong bing. We can look at the Trent Horn thing really quick. Whoops. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
You'd be a lot happier in life if you just treated women like
If you just treated, okay, here we go.
Like objects.
Um, Feel free to jump in at any point. I'll pause it. Just let me know, but we
It's
can
only a
riff on
minute,
this.
so might as well just
Yeah,
pause
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You'd be a lot happier in life if you just treated women like people. Blue, red, and black-pilled men don't treat women as persons or people. Simps and the blue-pilled treat women as precious resources to cowardly acquire. Red and black-pilled men treat women as morally inferior to men and only useful when they are exploited or insulted. But the manosphere treats women like how radical feminists treat men. They lump them together under ugly stereotypes and then blame all their problems on them. You'd be a lot happier in life if you just treated women like people. That just means recognizing there are good and evil women, just as there are good and evil men. Dating and
Wrong.
romance for both sexes means being prudent, so you don't end up being stuck with an evil narcissist in your relationship, be she a woman or
I'm sorry, I have to pause there. He's literally stuck with an evil narcissist in his relationship
I
currently.
still can't believe that quote from his wife when she basically said that what was it that a guy at her office came on to
Yeah,
her and
yeah,
she
yeah,
fantasized about leaving with him. And she
yeah,
said that like so casually and jokingly.
Bro, who is
yeah.
this content for? Who is he making this for?
Right.
Like who is this appealing to? Oh, really? Like it's not necessarily that what he's saying is like objectively wrong, but
No,
it's like gay. And it's like no, that first of all you're using the red pill and blue pill, black pill. Like first of all
out.
using them, you're gay for using that. Like I
You're
feel
missing.
like they totally just like destroyed these terms or whatever. Like
They're eight. They're eight
nothing
years
means.
late. They're 10 years late on it.
It's
Sorry,
crazy.
go.
Red pill, blue pill, and it's like, okay, your audience, who are probably like a bunch of like boomer, whatever, have no idea what you're talking about, right? Like they just hear red pill and blue pill from like
Red,
a news
black, blue.
article. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's just so dumb. And it's like, oh, well, if they just treat women like people, it's like nobody's saying that women aren't people. We're saying what the Catholic Church has taught for 2,000 years is that women need to be subservient to men. It doesn't make them less than. It makes them they have their own unique capabilities, like we just talked about, and nature. And to try to just treat them like people, what that underlining thing that he's trying to say is to treat them equal, treat them like you would treat anybody else. And it's it's like, no, well, we're not equal. We have distinct abilities, and men are vastly different than women. And it doesn't mean that we should abuse them or whatever, but they need to know their place just like men need to know their place. You want to talk about men being feminized or men not doing what they're supposed to do, and it's like, okay, but then when we talk about women, you're like, no, well, let's just treat them like people. You're being like the opposite of a feminist and stuff. It's like, yeah, well, I am an opposite of a feminist, first of all, but second of all, that the whole entire ideology that you're spreading is essentially liberalism. That's what you're trying to do, and it's just really gay. And I don't know who he's trying to appeal to or what the purpose of these types of videos are. It's like his wife is forcing him to make these videos to like, we need more Catholics to be supportive of women.
I mean, that's what it feels like. It does feel like, and I know it's maybe it is, but it feels like almost literally his wife is like, "Are you seeing these comments, Trent? Look at this. Look at this, Trent. This is what they're saying about me." And it's almost like he has a gun to his head saying, "Guys, please don't be mean to the women. They're
Mhm.
great. They're perfect sweeties."
Because
And
he came up with that because she said something. It's not
oh
he's
yeah,
not he's the type where, and I don't know much about him personally, but I know like kind of the type where it's like iDubbbz and Anissa, like who has the control in that relationship.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
saw that? Did you see the recent? Sorry, not to jump off topic, but
Go for
that
it.
just made me think. I saw this video of so you saw the whole thing where iDubbbz made the really cringe content cop about Ethan Klein, and it's like the one video that ever made me want to side with Jews, honestly, because it was just so like cringe and badly done. But he was basically going off on Ethan Klein for his support of like Israel and stuff, but it was just done very poorly or whatever. And he's like hysterically crying in it about his wife or whatever she is getting made fun of for doing OnlyFans, blah blah. So then anyway, Ethan Klein did a video with iDubbbz's ex personal trainer, and the personal trainer was talking about how Ethan had like super bad hygiene and that his girlfriend would come when his personal trainer was there and was like obsessed with his personal trainer and stuff like that. And like basically he was getting cucked by his personal trainer. Like it just shows like women, if you let them, women are
If you
natural destroyers.
yes, and he's really doing a disservice to his audience because I would guess that something like 80 to 85% of Trent Horn's audience is male. I would just guess that. I don't think women are really watching too much deep intellectual Catholic apologetics. He's doing a disservice because your average guy watches that and they say something and they may just end up agreeing with him and they're setting themselves up for a horrible marriage where they're not in control of their own marriage.
Mhm.
Um, it would, apologetics aside, and I don't deny, I'm not disregarding the idea that Trent is a devout Catholic. I believe that. I'm not saying he's insincere about his faith, but it's like you said earlier, they need to know their lane.
Mhm.
Guys would unironically, and I mean this without even a hint of irony, guys would do better to listen to Nick Fuentes with regards to gender relations than
Mhm.
they would to listen to Trent Horn with regards to gender relations. If you listen to Trent Horn, your wife will walk all over you and she will metaphorically cut your balls off. Metaphor,
Mhm.
maybe,
Well,
maybe even
it's
literally with in this case. Like it is so over if you listen to that kind of advice. It's
Yeah.
over.
For,
You're done.
women need to know like in their soul or whatever, or like in the back of their mind, like even if you treat them great or whatever and like
Yes.
you have a great relationship, they need to know in the back of their mind that you are physically and emotionally capable of beating them to
Of
death with your bare hands. Like
ending
you,
them. Of
well, yeah,
ending them. Yeah.
like if like I have the capability, like if I'm not saying I'm going to do it or whatever, but I physically and like emotionally could kill you if I wanted to, and you need to act accordingly, you know?
Right. Right. And Trent does not
No.
lead you to that at all. This small, mealy-mouthed man saying, "Hey, guys, have you thought about treating them equal?" Dude,
well,
you
they
are
think it's
missing
a
the plot.
virtue nowadays.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
so many who actually think that it's virtuous. Like I've said before, that when boomers used to say happy wife, happy life or whatever, they just meant like, okay, occasionally I just got to paint the garage on a Saturday. With
Hmm.
millennials, it means adopting the most insane CNN politics imaginable.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It completely, yeah, it
But just
completely
look at
changed.
the psychology of women. Like everybody knows that women like the bad boys. Like it's a stereotype for a reason. That's why there's the saying, "Nice guys finish last" and stuff like that.
It's
Why?
because
Because
they're dangerous.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's literally that.
women want to go with like, of course, like if they want to settle down or whatever, they want some type of stability or whatever, but they want to know that their husband or the guy that they're interested in can protect them, can fight for them, isn't like a push around, and like takes control and takes authority and like has the authority in the relationship. That's why, what is it, 63 or 73% of women have rape fantasies and stuff like that. Women are insane. Okay. They want to be dominated. They want all this, that's why they go, that's why Zerka and Andrew Tate can easily get as many girls as they want because they know how to act around girls. When I was in college, not to, you know, brag or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
when I treated girls like crap, they liked me more. And I was a fat degenerate on drugs. They
Yeah,
wanted me because I treated them like they were trash. It was ridiculous, And every time that I tried, like, found a girl that I thought I liked and like tried to treat them romantically and like whatever, they immediately lost interest because they don't like that type of behavior. And obviously, you have to find like a little bit of a balance if you want to find a wife and stuff like that, I guess.
right.
But like, you can't like just be a
But
total simp bitch.
you have to retain some of that though. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Becoming a husband is not about becoming a sweet, nice puppy,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And that's what he's telling men to do. And I've seen it enough happen. I've seen it happen enough in not my personal life, but with friends, stuff like that. Dude, yeah, I don't even want to say too much there because I have friends that watch my show, but it's like, dude, you gotta put an end to that. And yeah, we can wrap up that video really quick. And uh, does he say anything of interest? How much time does he? Not much time left.
So you don't end up being stuck with an evil narcissist.
Wait, can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Well, the
Uh,
irony, quick thing, the irony of you don't want to be stuck with an evil narcissist. If you're a simp, that's exactly what you're going to be stuck with. You're going to be stuck with an evil narcissist wife.
right. Any woman who respects weakness or like even prioritizes weakness or that docile thing with guys is going to be a narcissist who's going to walk all over you, and
It's
that's what
because
he's
they want control and they know that they can get away with murder,
right.
and like they might think that they want that and they might whatever, but like inherently they don't want that.
They don't.
They want stability. They want to be controlled. They want to know that they have protection, like we just said.
Yeah.
Be she a woman or he a man. But it also means that both women and men need to be realistic in the expectations they have for a future spouse and not hold out for someone who only meets an impossible checklist.
I mean,
This
I
is
agree.
especially
Yeah.
true for women because as they get older, the pool of suitable men to marry grows smaller, whereas
True.
the pool of younger women who also want to marry those men grows larger.
Well,
That's
okay,
real. Yeah.
that's actually the only. I didn't expect him to drop any truth. That was the only true thing he said. Yeah, that part is true.
Yeah,
Um,
when women like hit 18 and start aging in dog years. But but um but yeah, no, that's 100%
no, no, no,
true.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
any guy who even in their 50s or whatever, if they're established, they have some type of like steady income, they have their own car and house and stuff like that, like they can get a 20-year-old girlfriend in a split second if they really wanted to, whereas a 40-year-old single cat woman is not gonna be able to find any type of decent guy, but so that part is absolutely accurate. But his whole leading up to that is
right.
completely nonsensical. An impossible checklist. There's a very little checklist that she wants a family, she's Catholic, she's subordinate to her
Yeah,
husband,
where is he?
and
That's a good point. Where is he getting this impossible checklist from? I don't think wanting a virgin wife who wants a family is actually too much to ask,
yeah.
actually. I
People
don't
who
think
say
that that's crazy,
Yeah.
actually.
People who say those types of things like, oh, you have all these expectations. That means like what he's saying is that his wife probably had sex with a bunch of guys before he met, and
Exactly.
like he wants to justify that. He's like, yeah,
Right.
what happened in her past isn't her past.
That's her past, bro.
Yeah,
Body,
it's
she is
crazy.
not her body count. It's
Yeah,
like, no,
it's
no, no, but
nuts.
she literally
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's
Like, um, yeah, yeah, we have about 10 or 15 minutes left. You want to jump into the Roseanne Tim Pool thing? And
Yeah,
then we
let's
should,
do it.
I think that should be pretty good. I think it ties in very well because we were just talking about Roseanne and Tim Pool is Tim Pool. Oh, okay. There's actually an important point I wanted to get to with like how not Roseanne because she's like stupid, but with this mindset.
It is.
It's only a minute. So yeah. Okay, Tim Pool, super cool, right? With
I hate
the
this guy so
beanie.
much.
He did no, dude. He's cool, man. He skateboards. What are you talking, dude? He's
He
awesome,
plays the guitar.
dude. He's sick, bro. That's so
How
sick.
old is he? How old is Tim Pool? He has to be in his 40s,
He's
right?
yes, 40s. Either late. I mean, I'm talking late 30s, like 39,
39. He
or
is
I would be
39.
some.
shocked. I'm gonna
39.
look that up because I really
I'm
want
curious,
to.
actually. I'm not
39
no.
under 6 foot and bald. That's crazy. Like I'm bald, but like I'm 6'5", so it's okay, and I have a full beard, so it's fine. But like
39.
if you're
I
under,
knew it,
yeah,
man.
if you're under
That's the
six
thing.
foot, that's
That's the
crazy.
thing. You can riff on someone's hairline or their baldness all you want if they're young, if they're shorter than 6 foot.
Right.
Above 6 feet, you can't see it, dude. I look
I
down
also
on
feel
you.
like nobody would care if he didn't wear that stupid beanie all the
Exactly.
time. If he
Nobody.
just owned it and was just a normal bald dude, nobody would care.
Or
I
just
mean,
change your hat, like have a couple of different hats. Like he's trying to make it like it's a fashion
Yeah,
statement, or like, oh, that's my brand, or whatever. It's like, no, it probably smells. It's gross. Like it's
I mean, nobody riffs on Joe Rogan for being bald because
right.
he's like
Yeah.
jacked and he's like, I know he's cringe, but he's kind of Chad in a
He,
way. Like,
he's way shorter than he is bald. So
yeah. I mean, Rogan could kill you with his bare hands, so there
right.
is something Chad about that.
Yeah.
Tim Pool, on the other hand, you could wring him by
Most
his scrawny neck.
not non-threatening person that's ever existed.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
Oh my
so
gosh, I hate his face so
It
much.
says, what if our government doesn't really control America?
I don't.
Well, there's a big bingo.
I think the CIA.
I think Ukraine controls America.
You do?
Oh my.
Zelensky
no,
flew here.
that's the
no.
dumbest
He's
thing I've
trolling.
ever
No,
heard.
no.
Even
He's trolling.
oh,
He's trolling.
Okay.
He's trolling because what? I know. I thought that too. He's trolling. He's like, I think Ukraine. Watch,
All right.
because he does the whole Ukrainian flag thing. He's like, we're waving their flag. He's doing that as a stand-in for the people who are saying Israel. But it gets better. What I wanted to get into is what Roseanne says in a sec.
America.
You do?
Yeah.
Roseanne believes
Zelensky
it.
flew here and went to Congress. They waved his flag and then gave him hundreds of billions of dollars.
That's what
Yeah, no, I think
Netanyahu
It's
does.
the Ukrainians. It's always been the Ukrainians.
He's being
Really?
snarky.
Yeah,
No.
he's gay.
Global public.
I think it's the Chinese. I think it's the Chinese control everything.
I
I
think it's a
wish.
combination of various foreign interests. I think the Saudis have a lot.
Now he's being serious. Now we're
course,
getting
yeah.
into Netanyahu.
he's got
talking
no
points.
Yeah,
gusto or
Netanyahu's,
stage
yep.
presence.
Now we're
No
getting
gusto,
into
no stage presence, and he can't even pull off a joke.
no, because he doesn't have comedic timing. And now he's getting into what Netanyahu told him to say. I think it's a conglomeration of foreign interests.
A lot of control
Yeah.
because of the petrodollar. China is the biggest spent because of the petrodollar. China spent.
Sorry, it froze 1 sec. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Our government doesn't really control.
I think the CIA.
I think Ukraine controls America.
You do?
Yeah. Zelensky flew here and went to Congress. They waved his flag and then gave him hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, no, I think
It's the Ukrainians. It's always been the Ukrainians.
Oh, you're so funny. Tim.
Really?
no. Global public.
I think it's
partnership.
the Chinese. I think it's the Chinese control everything.
I think it's a combination of various foreign interests. I think the Saudis have a lot of control
Yeah.
because of the petrodollar.
Why is it
China is the
freezing there?
biggest spender on states, like $460 million something per year.
Yeah.
Huge.
I mean, I still think that the entire State Department and the CIA and all of them have been involved in the international foreign policy above the government for
What is she
decades.
even saying? I'm genuinely
This
curious.
is like a Saturday Night Live skit. Sorry, I know Saturday Night Live's cringe, but this is like a
No, you're
Saturday
good.
Night Live sketch where it's so obvious what they're dancing around.
Yeah, they're trying
not wanting
everything
to
in their
say.
power to not say Jews or Israel.
Well, no, I think not Roseanne and not Tim Pool, the girl, the roasty with the burnout face. She's being sincere. She's like, I think it's like what I'm genuinely asking. What is
State Department.
What is
It's
she
like this-
saying here? What is she
Yeah.
saying?
I mean, I still think that the entire State Department and the CIA and all of them have been involved in the international foreign policy above the government for decades.
Are you on pills?
I mean, they function
What?
with USAID,
What are you
dark
saying?
money,
I
and
know.
all that.
It's just Satan.
Just like the most generic
No.
answers
Real.
possible.
This part. This
I
is
mean,
what
they
I was getting
function
at.
with USAID, dark
I
money, and
know.
all that.
It's just Satan.
Yeah,
Let's
I
just
agree.
be real. Satan is in charge of everything. And
Shoes.
maybe it's
Yeah.
almost over.
Smeep Knight says,
Yeah,
Minute.
I mean, Roseanne may, I don't know if she's like dog whistling there and saying it's Satan that runs everything.
Mhm.
It's definitely the synagogue of
Oh,
Satan.
It
the
literally
Jewish God,
feels
you
like
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
it actually feels like a clip that Sam Hyde would come up, or it
Mhm.
that feels like some kind of world peace $1 million extreme Sam Hyde sketch where like the punchline is obvious, but they say all like the stereotypical dance around things they
Yeah.
could.
It's like that meme where it's they're talking it's the globalists. No, it's the State Department. It's the CIA, and it has all these different euphemisms, but it's just supposed to be Jews. Like just say Jews, you know.
But
But the Go
no,
ahead.
go.
Oh,
You're good.
no, but everybody always talks about China and stuff like that. Like, I wish that China had as much influence as these people say that they do, because there would be so much less degeneracy, and like we would at least know who is in control. Like, if
Correct.
you know, if China was that the actual bad guys, like living in China, they know that their government, like you can't talk bad about their government or you'll like be killed and like be taken away and stuff like that. You know, we have to like tiptoe around things that everybody knows is the truth, but we can't say it because they're not in charge and stuff. And this whole like this Qatari thing is so dumb. Like I just and it feels like it just came out of nowhere. Like that like suddenly they're blaming on Qatar because they donated a couple $1 million to some colleges or something like
It's
that.
straight Hasbara, man.
Yeah,
What
it's
that is
crazy.
straight up, those are straight up downloaded PDF talking points that they
Yeah,
all got in their inbox. Like,
for
blame
real.
the Qataris, talk about the jet, talk about the
Hmm.
400 million. It's like, dude, when Qatari has Q-Pack, not Q-tards, like Qatari pack, then I'll listen to you. Then
Hmm.
I will listen.
Oh yeah, when they're
Until
controlling
then,
Hollywood and all of our media corporations and all of our colleges and everything like that, and when like
yeah.
they're pushing, when you're not allowed to criticize Qatari or you'll get banned from like the banking services and stuff like that, then maybe they might have some valid points.
One thing I did want to say though is I really don't like, and you can literally hear it in Roseanne's voice when, and this happens a lot when you talk to Gen X and boomers, you start getting into a complex idea, like the idea of Jewish influence, and like it's not an easy thing for people to grasp if they haven't heard it before.
Hmm.
And you can hear it in her voice where she's being explained something complex and she just resigns herself. She takes a deep breath and goes, it's all just Satan anyway.
Yeah.
That specifically, I think, is a huge problem, man. I feel like that is like almost an op in and of itself because Tucker says a lot of that. He's
Hmm.
like, it's the demons, man. It's actually the demon. It's not the Jews. It's not China. It's like a demonic
Yeah.
force from the fourth dimension, man.
Hmm.
It's actually not woo-woo like that. There are
Oh,
people with names, with addresses, with hats, with last names that control things.
right.
And I really don't like the idea of just kind of brushing it off and saying, well, it's all Satan anyway, so
Hmm.
whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, no, dude, we live in the world and I want to make it a better world.
Hmm.
I don't think it helps anybody to just write it off to Satan. I don't think
No.
that that's helpful at all.
No,
I think I
it's
don't
definitely
like it.
it's a cop out. I mean, it is
And
Satan.
but it is true. It's there's a kernel of
Yeah.
truth there, and there's a reason they say it because they know that that'll resonate with Christians, to with a
Right.
certain set, not even a certain, a vast
Hmm.
majority of Christians will buy into that and say, yeah, that's true. It's just Satan, man. I don't want to
Right.
blame any people. It's Satan, man. It's
Yeah.
not black people committing the crime. It's that they have Satan in them. It's
Hmm.
like, no, dude, it's blacks committing the crime. It's Jews pulling their strings. If we're just keeping it
Exactly.
real here, like,
Right. It's
so that
it's to
really
blame
bugs
like
me, man.
it's to blame like this abstract supernatural entity to ignore from the reality. Which, don't get me wrong, that obviously it is all Satan in the sense that he works through people
Sure.
to make evil happen and go against God's natural order and stuff like that. But Satan uses specific tools, and his biggest tools are obviously the Jews, women, and Protestants, I would say. But he but yeah, like you said, they're real people that are committing acts of evil. And the main problem is this fifth column of Jews having overrepresentation of influence in virtually all Western countries, but specifically America. And they are pushing us towards destruction for their own benefit. You know,
Hmm.
that's like the main problem. Everything else is downstream from that. If you can't acknowledge the main problem that we have people who hate us, who hate Jesus Christ, who hate our natural way of life and are trying to promote this revolutionary ideology that specifically only benefits them, you can't acknowledge those things, then you're already like missing the plot and everything else is just like fodder.
Yeah, I mean that's literally what Tucker Carlson falls into is
Mhm.
he may say some positive things here and there, like what he's doing about the Iran war now. He's objectively correct about, the fact that we are being pushed into a war with Iran. but he writes a 1,000-word essay on
About Mark
Twitter,
Levin, yeah.
yeah, about Mark Levin, but won't say Israel, won't say
Hmm.
Jewish, won't mention who's doing it. And that's what strikes me with a lot of these people who want to talk about the Middle Eastern wars. We wasted $1 trillion in a sandbox.
Hmm.
Well, dude, who pushed
Why?
us there?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Why? Bibi Netanyahu was talking in front of Congress and he said verbatim, it will have nothing but positive reverberations for the region if you guys go to war with Iraq.
He
I mean,
said not.
that's
He said 9/11 was good. Bro, like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know about all like the Israel connections to 9/11 and stuff like that, but it was literally planned from the 1980s to get us into war in the Middle East to basically, you know, try to get the Greater Israel Project going,
mhm.
like to try to expand their region influence and dominance over the Middle East. And they used all of these tricks. And Bibi Netanyahu wrote 5 different books talking about how the terrorists in the Middle East are actually against Israel because they have Western values, just like America, and trying to relate Israel to America that way so that we can get,
And trying to combine
yeah,
Jerusalem and Athens and leaving out Rome.
yeah,
That
all
was
of
a
that
big,
stuff.
huge
Yep.
red pill for me when
Hmm.
they said, Western civilization is built on Jerusalem and Athens and just casually leave Rome out of that. Gee, I wonder why they left Rome out of that,
And what was I'm blanking on the actual document that it was called now for
Clean
some
break memo.
reason. It was that, yes, but there
Oh,
that
okay.
there was something, clean break memo. Then there was PNAC,
Hmm.
and there was something else too. But well, no, I don't know, but whatever. There was some type of Israeli plan that was written by Richard Pearl and Douglas Feith, I believe, or something, that was given to Bibi Netanyahu, basically describing how they wanted to balkanize the countries in the Middle East.
Oh, I
And
know what you're talking about. I
yeah,
forgot the name too, but yes, that is, yeah.
and yeah, and this was going on since like the 1980s, where this was the plan of how are we going to get America to join this war. And they said we need a catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor.
Hmm.
And obviously that was 9/11. And then you look into 9/11 and all the Israel connections there. Bibi Netanyahu was literally very close friends with Larry Silverstein. They talked every Saturday on the phone with each other. And like, it's just, and obviously the dancing Israelis and Odago and stuff like that. Like, it was a complete Israel Mossad op 9/11. And because of that, and getting obviously Osama, who was basically a CIA asset, and
Yeah.
basically making Muslims the big bad wolf in America, so that we would be down to go to war and basically give up all our freedoms and stuff like that. So like all of this is connected, and the common denominator is that Jews and Israel's perpetuated this to get us to fight their wars. We are basically just like their puppets, and people don't want to talk about it, and it's the most important topic to talk about.
Well, and what they like to do, and we need to probably wrap up soon. I don't want to keep you too
Mhm.
long, but what I'm hearing a lot more now, and it worries me hearing this from Catholics actually. Um, what you're hearing a lot more now is this, and I don't mean this in like a leftist way, like xenophobia or racism. I mean this in a we are scapegoating the Muslims quite a bit. If you listen to how modern conservatives talk about Muslims, and I'll say this for the record, I'm against is Muslim migration. I want zero Muslims in America. I want
Mhm.
zero Muslims in Europe. But what you're hearing a lot from a lot of people I talk to who are devout Catholics, they'll say things like, "Those dirty, stinky Muslims, we need to glass the Middle East and get them out of here." They don't realize that they are doing Israel's bidding.
Right.
It is not a mutually exclusive thing to say I want Muslims out of America, but I
Hmm.
also do not want Jewish influence in America.
Hmm.
Those two things are not mutually exclusive. And they think that because they're fighting the left or something, because people they don't like with blue hair and brown skin or whatever, because they're protesting at Harvard and they hate them and they want to say they're dirty, stinky Muslims. You are kind of doing the Jews' bidding here. If you're not simultaneously talking about Israeli influence in the same sentence, you are doing their bidding. You are doing the bidding of Mark Levin.
Yeah.
And it's very important to say I am not pro-Muslim. Obviously, I'm a devout Catholic. I want zero immigration, especially from these countries. But
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you look into it, like like a little esoteric, but if you look into the history on, I know we don't really like E. Michael Jones anymore, but on his Culture Mag website, he has an article reviewing this book that talks about how Islam was basically founded by Jews. Like
I've heard that.
Muhammad's wife was a Jew. There was this sect of Jews called the Nazarenes or something, I believe, that like basically influenced his like theology and all this stuff. And basically, if you look throughout history, Islam was always teaming up with Jews and Protestants against like the Catholic Church. And what I feel like is that Islam is basically a Jewish creation to try to take down the Catholic
Mm.
Church. And in some ways, it basically became a golem that they can't control anymore.
Same
And
thing that's
now,
happening at the
yeah,
universities.
Interesting.
yeah. And also, like, talking about like not wanting Muslims in the country, obviously, I think that just like goes without saying. But you look at the right wing Jews are perpetuating these wars in the Middle East that we go to, and we bomb the crap out of these countries,
And they come right here.
creating a refugee crisis, and then left wing Jews
Fund
promote them and fund coming into the
they
country.
left-wing
So
Jews
it's
fund
like, yeah,
HIAS, Hebrew Israeli Immigrant Aid Society or whatever. I forgot
yeah,
the exact acronym, but yeah, it's the same thing, man. The right-wing Jews support the wars in the Middle East, and the left-wing Jews bring them in. I mean,
yeah,
it just is. It just is.
yeah.
Um, yeah, man. I mean, we did an hour without blinking, so
Sweet.
I feel
Feel
like,
like could have went
oh,
three times as long.
dude, I still have. We only went through 40% of the tabs that I had open, and I think
That's
it
good.
was a good episode. I think we can probably put a bookmark in it here.
Sweet.
SW, did you want to close with anything?
No, this is really fun. I enjoy. I was listening more in like the last part of this, but you guys were on a tear, and I wouldn't have had anything productive to say or anything that you guys didn't already cover.
Hey,
Sweet.
man. Um,
Good to catch
really,
up. Yeah.
really enjoyed it, Spexo. If you want to follow Spexo on Twitter, he is at Extreme Papist, exactly how it sounds, Extreme Papist. You do a show with Pine Sap.
Yeah, we haven't really done it in a couple of months. I've just because I have like zero time, but
Everybody's asking for it, dude. In
I
your
know,
comments, I see your comments.
I
People are
know,
saying, "Where's Logos Triumphant?"
I know. We gotta get back together. We gotta start doing it more frequently. It's just like the having kids and all this nonsense. That
No,
it really,
totally,
they don't tell you that like when you have kids, it really like cuts into your anti-Semitic podcast time.
dude.
Like it's just it's really
Dude,
so.
yeah. Nick was kind of onto something there,
Yeah.
actually. But you just got to make time. I totally
Yeah.
agree. SW, you can find him on Twitter at SnowMed34. Me at JordanB Videos. Thanks for coming on today, Spexo. If you
Absolutely.
ever want to come on again, more
Yeah.
than welcome to. And
I
SW, we'll
think we'll
talk
have to
soon,
go
man.
a little bit longer next time.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
let me
dude.
know. Give me like a week in advance, and I'll plan it out like I did this time.
Sweet.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, it's
Talk
nice
to
to
you guys.
meet you, man.
You too, bro. Talk to you
All
later.
right.
God
Talk
bless.
talk
Bye.
soon. Later.
Take care.
See you.